Lauren Mitchell was reborn. One moment, she was kneeling before Rachel Foster's cold gravestone, her wedding gown soaked in blood. Agonizing pain coursed through her body as Lauren Mitchell struggled to lift her head, staring at the man in the groom suit before her. Why? Noam Parker held a dagger, his gaze icy enough to pierce steel. If he hadn't come back, Rachel wouldn't have died. The blade fell again, and Lauren Mitchell's scream echoed through the entire cemetery. Ah! Lauren Mitchell jolted awake, her back drenched in cold sweat. But the grim cemetery had vanished. Instead, she was in a lavishly decorated living room. She looked down at herself, touching the places that had been slashed in her memory. No blood, no wounds. Looking up again, she saw Owen Parker sitting on the sofa across from her. His eyes were fixed on her, but the burning hatred and grief from her past life were gone. This was the Parker family's living room. The calendar on the wall marked the very day Owen Parker had found her and the day Rachel Foster had been sent away. Lauren Mitchell's heart raced. The phantom pain of being stabbed lingered on her skin, sending shivers through her body. Fear clawed at her chest, fierce and unrelenting. Pack your things. The flight abroad is this afternoon, Owen Parker said coldly, his gaze drifting to Rachel Foster with no warmth at all. Rachel Foster's face went pale. Tears instantly welled in her eyes. Owen, I was wrong. I'll never harbor foolish feelings again. Please don't send me away. I only have you and Lauren. Lauren Mitchell snapped back to reality, watching the sight of Rachel Foster sobbing uncontrollably. In her past life, after Owen Parker sent Rachel away, he spent his days consumed by regret, often taking his pain out on Lauren Mitchell, eventually killing her on their wedding night. And it all traced back to today. Owen, Lauren Mitchell blurted, her voice trembling. You can't send Rachel away. Mom and Dad would never want her to leave. Rachel Foster paused, then sobbed even harder, echoing Lauren Mitchell's words. Yes, Owen, Mom and Dad wouldn't want me to go. I'll stay and take care of Lauren. I won't make you angry again. Owen Parker glanced at the tearful, pitiful Rachel Foster. After a moment, he softened and finally agreed. Lauren Mitchell let out a long sigh of relief. As she watched the two of them, memories of her previous life surged back. When she and Rachel Foster were children, they had been switched at birth. Her biological parents, the ones Rachel Foster officially called Mom and Dad, had been in a car accident while searching for her. On their deathbed, they entrusted Rachel Foster to Owen Parker, repeatedly urging him to find their true daughter. Fate, however, had other plans. Rachel Foster had long fallen in love with Owen Parker during their daily interactions. In the previous life, when Owen Parker brought Lauren Mitchell home, he realized Rachel Foster loved him. Using Lauren's return as an excuse, he forcibly sent Rachel Foster abroad under the pretext that she wasn't a true member of the Parker family. But the plane crashed, leaving Rachel Foster missing. The sudden tragedy drove Owen Parker into endless anguish and self-blame. Lauren Mitchell stayed by his side quietly, helping him gradually emerge from the shadow of losing Rachel Foster. And in the process, she herself fell for the seemingly cold but secretly tender man. In the long months of mutual support, Owen Parker, too, was moved by her. Eventually, he confessed his feelings, and they married. On their wedding night, Lauren Mitchell was filled with joy, believing past wounds had healed and that a happy future awaited her. But Owen Parker led her to Rachel Foster's grave. He had never truly let go. For years, the resentment he harbored toward Lauren Mitchell had merely lain dormant in his heart. If you hadn't come back, I wouldn't have sent Rachel away, and she wouldn't have died in that crash. Owen Parker's eyes were bloodshot as he gripped the dagger, trembling. Tonight is our wedding night. You can go down and keep her company. The blade pierced Lauren Mitchell's body. Warm tears fell into the pool of blood. Lauren, I'll take you to see your room. I've already had it prepared. Rachel Foster's voice yanked Lauren Mitchell back to reality. Lauren Mitchell barely noticed Rachel Foster's arm loop around hers as they walked upstairs. She didn't resist, though a flicker of unease crossed her mind. In her previous life, Rachel Foster had been just as affectionate when Lauren first returned. But then, caught up in the joy of finding her real family, Lauren hadn't sensed the danger. Once inside the room, Rachel Foster suddenly slammed the door, her smile vanishing, replaced by icy hostility. She shoved Lauren Mitchell against the wall. "Lauren Mitchell, I don't know why you're helping me today, but you'd better know your place. Don't think that being the real heiress lets you steal Owen from me. He's mine eventually, and if you try anything, I won't let you off." Lauren Mitchell stared at the transformed Rachel Foster, her lips curving into a bitter smile. In her past life, she hadn't realized until it was too late, Owen Parker had always loved Rachel Foster, blaming Lauren for Rachel's death. "I'm not here to fight you," Lauren Mitchell said calmly, her eyes devoid of any ambition to compete. She had always planned to go abroad after acknowledging her parentage. If Rachel Foster hadn't died and Owen Parker hadn't collapsed, she would have left to study overseas without hesitation. This time, she would not make the same mistake for someone undeserving. Rachel Foster eyed her suspiciously, snorted, and said, "Fine, good for you. Don't forget your words." Then she returned to her usual gentle, docile demeanor and opened the door to leave. At dinner, Rachel Foster played the part of the hostess perfectly, constantly serving Lauren Mitchell with a sweet, intimate tone. Afterwards, she turned to Owen Parker, her voice dripping with sweetness. "Owen, you made all my favorite dishes. Didn't you even ask what Lauren likes?" No. Parker glanced at Lauren Mitchell, a hint of apology in his eyes. "That was my oversight. Next time, I'll have the kitchen prepare it to your taste." Lauren Mitchell shook her head softly. "It's fine. Everything tastes wonderful." But only she knew how cold her heart felt, staring at the familiar dishes on the table. They were all Rachel Foster's favorites. In her previous life, Lauren had spent 3 years in the Parker household, and the menu had never changed once. Once, she had specially asked the housekeeper to prepare a different cuisine to celebrate Owen Parker's birthday. When he saw it, he had flown into a rage, saying she didn't understand the rules, and had poured all the dishes away. At the time she thought Owen Parker hated her. Now she realized he simply didn't want anyone altering the things Rachel Foster liked. After dinner, Lauren Mitchell took a deep breath and knocked on the study door. Inside, Owen Parker was reviewing documents. She steadied herself before speaking. "I'm preparing to study abroad." Owen Parker froze for a moment, then nodded. "Studying abroad is good. I support you. But your parents left an inheritance. There's no harm in waiting until the paperwork is complete, probably about a month." Lauren Mitchell thought for a moment. A month wasn't long. She agreed. After addressing the matter, Owen Parker stood to see her out. Noticing her reserved demeanor, he lightly patted her shoulder, his tone unusually gentle. "This will always be your home. Rachel and I are your family here, so there's no need to be so formal." Lauren Mitchell nodded silently and turned to leave the study. At the staircase, she couldn't help but glance back at the closed study door. Now chill ran through her heart. This had never been her home, not in her past life, and not in this one. Owen Parker's kindness had never been for her, he was merely fulfilling a promise to her parents. That was all. She hurried back to her room, finally relaxing when the door clicked shut behind her. Once the inheritance was settled, she could leave far away from Owen Parker and Rachel Foster and start a new life. The next morning, Lauren Mitchell went downstairs to find Rachel Foster sitting next to Owen Parker. "Owen, Lauren will eventually assume her place as the Mitchell heiress. She's just returned and doesn't know much yet. How about hiring an etiquette tutor for her?" Owen Parker, worn down by Rachel's persistence, finally nodded. "Fine, it's your responsibility then." Lauren Mitchell stood there, her fingers tightly clenched. In her previous life, she had spent 3 full years in the Parker household without an etiquette tutor. Every time she attended a social event, she was mocked by the high society elite for her lack of manners. She had been humiliated over and over. Back then, she had thought Owen Parker had simply forgotten. Now she realized he hadn't forgotten, he had been deliberately exacting revenge. That afternoon, the etiquette tutor was exceptionally strict. Lauren Mitchell slouched slightly in her seat, and the teacher's pointer snapped sharply against her arm, leaving a red mark. Sit up straight. You think you're any different from a rat in a gutter? Stop moving around like a monkey, show some decorum. Lauren Mitchell bit her lip, enduring the pain, and adjusted her posture. For 2 full hours, the pointer never stopped. Red marks covered her arms and back, and she sweated from the pain. Finally, class ended. Rachel Foster smiled and saw the tutor out. Only then did the teacher's expression soften. Thank you for your patience. Lauren has lived at the bottom of society for over 20 years. Old habits die hard. I appreciate your help in guiding her. The teacher cast a disdainful glance at Lauren Mitchell. Some things can't be taught, they come from true upbringing. Lauren Mitchell stood frozen, a lump in her throat, her heart aching in ways she couldn't describe. That evening, Owen Parker noticed the red marks on her arms and frowned. What happened to your arms? Before Lauren could speak, Rachel Foster jumped in. The etiquette tutor disciplined her. Lauren's an adult, and some of her bad habits are deeply ingrained. If she isn't strict, she won't change. It's for her own good. Owen Parker looked at Lauren Mitchell. Seeing her stay silent, he didn't question further. Lauren Mitchell lowered her head and ate in silence, her heart icy. This routine continued for half a month, until the final etiquette lesson. Lauren Mitchell and Rachel Foster escorted the tutor downstairs. At the corner of the staircase, Rachel Foster suddenly screamed and tumbled down the stairs. Rachel? Owen Parker, who had just entered, saw the scene. His face went pale, and he rushed forward. Carefully lifting Rachel Foster into his arms, his voice full of concern, he asked, "Are you hurt? Does it hurt anywhere?" Rachel Foster leaned on him, tears streaming. "Owen, it hurts so much." Lauren Mitchell watched from the top of the stairs, her heart twisting as if needles were piercing it. In her previous life, she had broken her leg saving Owen Parker, lying in the hospital in unbearable pain all night. He had visited only once, not a single word of concern. Then, without warning, the etiquette tutor spun around and slapped Lauren Mitchell sharply across the face. Smack! The sharp slap echoed through the living room. Lauren Mitchell instinctively turned her head, and her cheek immediately burned from the pain. The tutor, seething with anger, pointed at her. "Rachel was only trying to teach you etiquette, and you actually pushed her down the stairs." Lauren Mitchell clutched her cheek, dazed. "I didn't push her, she fell on her own." "You dare lie to me." "I saw it clearly," the tutor barked. Rachel Foster leaned against Owen Parker, tearful. "Lauren, why would you push me? Learning etiquette is for your own good." Owen Parker's expression darkened completely, disappointment written all over his face. "Lauren Mitchell, go down and apologize to Rachel." Lauren Mitchell felt both anxious and wronged. "Oh, and I didn't push her. If you don't believe me, check the security footage." Owen Parker hesitated. He had some doubts Lauren Mitchell was usually not the type to do something like this. "Fine. I'll review the footage. If it turns out you did push her, you must apologize to Rachel." Soon, the surveillance video was pulled up. The footage showed Lauren Mitchell and Rachel Foster walking ahead, with the tutor following behind. When Rachel Foster fell, the tutor's body partially blocked the view. Lauren's arm seemed to move slightly, and then Rachel tumbled down the stairs. "What do you have to say for yourself now?" Owen Parker's eyes were icy as he watched the footage, disappointment nearly spilling over. Lauren Mitchell's face paled. "Owen, please trust me this once. I really didn't push her." "That's enough." Owen Parker cut her off, his tone sharp with impatience. "Rachel is hurt this badly, and you're still arguing? Guards, take her outside. She will only be allowed back in once she understands her mistake and apologizes." 2 bodyguards stepped forward, roughly escorting Lauren Mitchell outside. She struggled, but was eventually forced to her knees on the cobblestone courtyard. The midday sun beat down mercilessly, heating the ground unbearably. After a while, Lauren began to feel dizzy, her throat dry, unable to make a sound. Sweat soaked her clothes. Time dragged on as the sun slowly descended. She was barely holding on, swaying, almost collapsing when the villa door opened. Noah Parker emerged with Rachel Foster leaning weakly against him, looking pitiful. "Lauren Mitchell, have you learned your lesson?" Owen Parker's voice was cold, towering over her. Lauren's lips were chapped, her vision blurred. Her knees were already bleeding. Her hoarse voice barely managed, I know I was wrong, I apologize to Rachel, please." Owen Parker looked at her pale face, his tone indifferent. "Behave yourself from now on. Don't make unnecessary moves. Your uncle and aunt said before they died that Rachel is also their child. Don't act like she owes you anything." "I understand," Lauren whispered. She struggled to stand, her knees already bleeding. The moment she tried to rise, she stumbled and fell again. Rachel Foster immediately went to help her, softening her voice. "Owen, I'll take Lauren back to her room and talk to her there." Owen Parker's eyes flickered with a trace of worry at Lauren's weakness, but he nodded slightly. Once inside the room, Rachel Foster's warm expression vanished instantly. She let go abruptly, causing Lauren Mitchell to collapse heavily to the floor, her knees shooting pain through her body. She lifted her head toward Rachel Foster, voice hoarse. "Why do you hate me so much?" Rachel Foster's face twisted with malice. "Do I need a reason to hate you? As long as you're in this house, I will never let you be at ease." Then she turned and walked away. Lauren Mitchell wanted to tell her that she would leave at the end of the month and would no longer be in her way. But the door slammed shut with force, and Lauren collapsed to the floor, tears finally spilling down. She wiped them away, silently comforting herself. Just one more month. Once the inheritance is settled, she could go abroad. Alive, at least. That was far better than eyeing under Owen Parker's blade in her past life. The next morning, Rachel Foster's crying rang through the living room. "The pearl necklace Mom gave me, it's gone. It was the only thing I had left of her, how could I not find it?" Rachel Foster sobbed, her face streaked with tears. Owen Parker's heart ached. "Don't worry. I'll have someone look for it." He gently patted her back, his voice gentle in a way Lauren Mitchell had never heard before. "Even if we can't find it, I'll buy you a better one. Stop crying, okay?" Lauren Mitchell stood at the top of the stairs, her heart twisting painfully. In her past life, after she and Owen Parker became a couple, even if she were sick or feverish, he only had the housekeeper bring her some medicine. He had never shown this kind of patience or tenderness. Only now did she understand, it wasn't that Owen Parker couldn't be gentle, his gentleness had always been reserved for Rachel Foster alone. Soon, the household staff began searching for the necklace. Before long, a servant returned holding it, looking troubled. "Mr. Owen, the necklace, it was found in Miss Lauren's room." Rachel Foster's head shot up, disbelief written all over her face. Her eyes were red as she turned to Lauren Mitchell. "Lauren, we're all children of our parents. I'm your only true family here. If you like this necklace, I could have given it to you. Why steal it?" Owen Parker's face darkened instantly, his eyes full of disgust. "Lauren Mitchell, what have you learned in etiquette? You actually learned to steal." He then turned to Rachel Foster, his tone softening. "Rachel, it's yours. You don't have to give it to anyone." "I didn't steal it," Lauren Mitchell hurriedly protested, her heart pounding. "I didn't even know this necklace existed, let alone steal it. The evidence is right in front of you, and you still dare to deny it?" Owen Parker interrupted her, his voice full of impatience. "Guards, break her hands. Give her a lesson, let her remember what is right and what is wrong." Two bodyguards immediately stepped forward, grabbing Lauren Mitchell's arms. She trembled in terror, struggling desperately. "No, I really didn't steal it. Please believe me, Owen." Crack. The crisp sound of bone snapping was followed by Lauren Mitchell's gut-wrenching scream. Pain shot up her arm, blacking out her vision instantly. Owen Parker looked at her without a flicker of emotion. "This is a lesson for your misconduct and a way to discipline you properly on behalf of your uncle and aunt." He waved his hand. "Take her to the black room for reflection." Lauren Mitchell was dragged along, her broken arm swinging with every step, sending waves of sweat down her body. She was in so much pain she nearly lost consciousness, yet she continued to cry out brokenly, "I didn't steal it, it really wasn't me." The black room was dark and damp. The bodyguards threw her inside and slammed the door. Darkness swallowed her instantly. She struggled to her feet, crying hoarsely as she pounded on the door. "Let me out. I didn't steal the necklace. I'm not a thief." Just as despair was about to consume her, the door creaked open slightly. Lauren Mitchell thought Owen Parker had come to reconsider, ready to release her. But the next second, a bundle was thrown inside, and the door slammed shut again, plunging her back into darkness. "Lauren Mitchell, let them play with you for a while." Rachel Foster's malicious laughter rang from outside, footsteps fading away. Lauren Mitchell's heart sank to the bottom. Rustling sounds emerged from the darkness. Several furry creatures began crawling up her legs. Ugh! Lauren Mitchell's hair stood on end. Rats. Rachel Foster had thrown in a bag full of rats. "Stay away, go away." She struggled desperately, but more rats kept crawling over her. She huddled in the corner, screaming, tears and sweat mingling as she called out again and again. "Help, let me out." Her cries sounded pitifully weak in the empty villa. Dawn came, and still, no one arrived. The next morning, the black room door opened. Lauren Mitchell curled up in a corner, covered in tiny bite marks, her face pale as paper, trembling uncontrollably. The mess on the floor had been cleaned up while she was unconscious, as if the previous night had never happened. The bodyguards roughly grabbed her arms and dragged her back inside. In the living room, Owen Parker sat on the sofa, Rachel Foster nestled against him. They looked intimate and relaxed. Seeing Lauren Mitchell being dragged in, Owen Parker's voice was flat. "Next weekend, we'll hold a recognition banquet to officially announce your identity. Until then, behave yourself and don't do anything unnecessary." Lauren Mitchell opened her mouth to explain, but her throat was dry. No words came out. What use was explanation anyway? He would never believe her. "Owen, don't be so harsh," Rachel Foster said, tugging at his arm. "Lauren just came back. She feels insecure and made a mistake, it wasn't intentional." She then pouted at Owen Parker. "By the way, I want to go to that Michelin restaurant I mentioned before. I want to go now." Owen Parker's expression softened. He reached out to ruffle her hair, smiling indulgently. "You little glutton, I reserved it for you last week. Let's go now." The two of them laughed and walked off together, not sparing a single glance at the disheveled Lauren Mitchell. She slumped to the floor, watching their backs, her body freezing from the cold dread creeping through her. The recognition banquet arrived quickly. Rachel Foster picked out a dress for Lauren Mitchell, thick, old-fashioned, and tactile decorated. It was ill-fitting, making Lauren look even paler and more exhausted. Lauren Mitchell stared at herself in the mirror, saying nothing. In her past life, it had been the same. Wearing a dress Rachel Foster had chosen for her, she had attended the banquet and been mocked all evening. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the door and walked into the hall. The music played, and all eyes turned toward her, immediately followed by whispers. The disdainful stares pricked at Lauren Mitchell like needles, but she kept her expression blank and walked forward. She had endured this before and had long since grown accustomed to it. Reaching Owen Parker's side, he frowned. "Why are you dressed like this?" He turned to Rachel Foster, eyes questioning. Rachel Foster immediately looked aggrieved. "Owen, this was Lauren's choice. I offered her several beautiful dresses, but she refused them all. I advised her, but she insisted. Should I let her change now?" Owen Parker glanced around and frowned. "Forget it. All the guests are here. Changing now would be inappropriate and might make a joke of her. Keep an eye on her, don't let her embarrass herself again." Then he turned away to greet several business partners. Rachel Foster's lips curled into a smug smile as she faced Lauren Mitchell, her eyes full of mockery. Soon, a few high society ladies who were close to Rachel surrounded Lauren, taunting her mercilessly. "This is supposed to be a rich heiress. Showing up in that outfits, he looks like an old lady. Pathetic. I heard she's been living away for over 20 years. Probably hasn't seen decent clothes in her life, a country bumpkin with no sense of the world. I also heard she stole Rachel's necklace. TSK. Growing up outside has really left her with zero manners. Lauren Mitchell didn't want to waste energy arguing with them. She turned to leave. But Rachel Foster grabbed her wrist tightly. Oh? Trying to leave already? I thought you could take it. With a sudden dead, Lauren lost her balance and crashed heavily into the champagne jar beside her. Clatter. The sound of shattering crystal glasses rang sharply through the ballroom. Champagne splashed across the floor as Lauren fell among the shards. Cuts opened on her skin, blood mixing with the spilled champagne, leaving her looking utterly pitiful. The screams drew every eye in the room, and the music abruptly stopped. Owen Parker rushed over. Seeing the mess on the floor and Rachel Foster's aggrieved expression, he immediately asked, "What happened?" Rachel Foster's eyes reddened, her voice trembling. "I saw Lauren losing her balance and tried to help her, but she pushed me away and fell herself." Owen Parker frowned. "It's none of your concern. She just wasn't careful." He then turned to Lauren Mitchell, for the first time letting impatience flash in his gaze. "What are you standing there for? Go change your dress. Don't embarrass yourself here." Lauren Mitchell gritted her teeth against the pain and slowly rose from the floor. Around her, some eyes were sympathetic, some cruelly entertained, but no one reached out to help. She bit her lip, step by step making her way to the stairs, leaving a trail of blood across the pristine carpet. In her room, she rifled through the wardrobe, only to find that Rachel Foster had removed all the other dresses, leaving a plain white cotton dress. Resigned, Lauren removed her blood and champagne-stained gown and changed into the simple dress. Unbeknownst to her, a tiny camera tucked in the corner of the room blinked faintly, recording her every move. When Lauren Mitchell came downstairs, the whispers in the ballroom hadn't stopped. Owen Parker frowned, eager to end the spectacle. He grabbed her wrist firmly and guided her toward the stage, intending to introduce her to the guests. Lauren's wrist throbbed in pain. As she stepped onto the stage, a sudden creaking sound came from above. Looking up, she saw the crystal chandelier hanging precariously over the stage. Its supports were mostly broken, and it looked ready to collapse at any moment. A gasp went up, and chaos erupted. With a loud crash, the chandelier fell near Lauren Mitchell and Rachel Foster. Ah! Owen Parker's eyes widened in horror. Rescue personnel rushed in. "Owen Parker, who do we save first? Lauren's position is more dangerous." Rachel Foster's face went pale. "Owen, save me. It hurts so much." Without hesitation, Owen pointed to her. "Save Rachel first." The rescue team didn't delay and pulled Rachel Foster to safety. But just then, the chandelier collapsed further. Falling debris struck Lauren Mitchell's back, and pain engulfed her vision. Before losing consciousness completely, she only saw Owen Parker cradling Rachel Foster as they rushed to the ambulance, not a single glance spared for her. At the hospital, doctors examined both of them. "Miss Rachel just lost a lot of blood. A transfusion and a few days' rest should be enough." Owen Parker stood outside Rachel's room and immediately grabbed a doctor's arm. "Give her blood immediately." The doctor hesitated. "Owen Parker, the hospital currently has no stock of Miss Rachel's blood type. We'll need to get it from the blood bank." Owen Parker turned to Lauren Mitchell, who had just been brought in. "She's Rachel's sister. Her blood type will match. Let her donate." Lauren Mitchell, still weak, shook her head, wanting to refuse. But Owen Parker directly gestured for the nurse. She dared not disobey and inserted the needle into Lauren's vein. Blood was drawn so quickly that her body could barely cope, and within moments she fainted again. "Miss Lauren has fainted," the nurse shouted. Owen Parker paused, but his worry for Rachel Foster outweighed concern for Lauren. He carried the blood bag quickly into the adjacent room. When Lauren Mitchell woke again, the hospital room was empty except for the slow drip of the IV. Pain from her injuries reminded her of everything she had endured the previous night. At that moment, the door opened. Owen Parker entered, supporting Rachel Foster. Rachel Foster feigned weakness, looking at Lauren. Lauren, thank you for giving me blood even though you were so weak. Without you, Owen Parker, seeing her wipe away tears, said tenderly, she's your sister. It's what she should do. He then turned to Lauren Mitchell. Rest and recover here. I'll take Rachel back. She's too fragile for the hospital. I'll have the housekeeper come take care of you. With that he carried Rachel Foster out, never sparing Lauren another glance. Even after Lauren was discharged, the housekeeper never showed up. For days, she forced herself through checkups and meals alone. Owen Parker didn't visit her even once. The day she was discharged, Lauren Mitchell took a taxi back to the Parker estate. Not long after leaving, the driver looked at her with a lewd expression. Little lady, you're pretty, how much a night? Lauren froze. What did you just say? Playing innocent, are we? The driver sneered, pulling out a photo from his phone. Aren't you in this line of work? Here's your picture and number. Tell me, how much tonight would be fair? Lauren Mitchell's blood ran cold as she stared at the photo. It was her naked, captured while she changed clothes on the day of the banquet. That's not mine, Lauren cried, fear and anger coursing through her. If you harass me again, I'll call the police. Call the police? You're the one selling yourself, and you still dare threaten me? The driver's expression darkened. Suddenly, he veered the car into a deserted alley and lunged at her, tearing at her clothes. Lauren screamed and struggled, desperate to call for help, but there was no one around. He slapped her hard across the face, making her mouth bleed. You shameless little bitch. Just when Lauren was about to give up hope, several passers-by arrived and rescued her, helping her call the police. Not long after, Owen Parker and Rachel Foster arrived at the station in a hurry. At the station, the driver immediately turned on her. She seduced me first, we couldn't agree on the price, and now she's trying to frame me. Look, here's the photo she sent me. I never sent that, it's him. Lauren's eyes filled with tears. He tried to assault me. Owen Parker's face turned deathly pale as he slammed his hand on the table, his eyes full of disgust. Shameless. Rachel Foster leaned in, feigning shock. Lauren, how could you do such a thing? If you needed money, you could have just told me. Lauren Mitchell's body shook with fury. Her voice was hoarse as she pointed at Rachel Foster. That photo was taken when I changed my clothes at the banquet. No one could have entered my room but you did this. Rachel Foster's eyes reddened. How could you think that of me? I've always treated you as my sister. I would never do that. Owen Parker's gaze on Lauren was icy. Enough. Is causing a scene at the police station not humiliating enough? He called to the bodyguards, take her back. The bodyguards immediately grabbed Lauren Mitchell and dragged her roughly. No, she screamed, struggling, but Owen Parker didn't budge. Instead, he gently comforted Rachel Foster, as though she were the one who had been wronged. Lauren Mitchell was thrown into the black car, her heart breaking. The car stopped in front of the Parker estate. Lauren was yanked out by the bodyguards, slammed into the ground, her knees hitting hard. Pain stole her breath. Owen Parker looked down at her with disdain. The last lesson wasn't enough. You've done something utterly shameless. This time, you'll get a proper punishment. Two bodyguards approached, whips in hand. Lauren shivered. Owen, those photos were taken without my consent. Rachel Foster set me up. Lauren cried, lifting her head desperately, tears streaming down her face. Owen Parker didn't listen. Do it. The bodyguards struck whips cracking against her back with brutal force. Lauren Mitchell's scream tore through the air, fabric shredding instantly, leaving a vivid crimson welt on her skin. Whip after whip landed with unrelenting force. Pain racked her body, her clothes soaked with cold sweat, her back soon a bloody mess. She collapsed on the ground, consciousness fading, murmuring, please. Stop, I'm sorry, please stop. After an indeterminate amount of time, the whipping finally ceased. Lauren lay on the floor bleeding and weak. Owen Parker stepped closer, his voice icy. Do you understand now? Looking into his indifferent eyes, Lauren felt her last shred of hope vanish. I didn't do it. The photos were taken without my knowledge. Owen, maybe we should let it go. Rachel Foster's voice was soft, eyes wet. Owen Parker's expression softened slightly as he looked at her. She refuses to repent and even slanders you. This must be settled. He turned to the bodyguards. Slap her until she admits her fault. The sound of sharp slaps echoed through the room. Lauren Mitchell's cheeks quickly swelled, blood trickling from her lips, vision blackening in spots. Rachel Foster watched with a faint smirk in her eyes, yet pretended to plead. Owen, stop, Lauren knows she's wrong. You're too soft, Owen said, to usling her hair with mock tenderness. She's hurt you again and again. She must remember this lesson so she doesn't repeat it. More slaps rained down before Owen finally called a halt. Lauren Mitchell, do you understand your mistake now? Covered in injuries, barely conscious, she could only hoarsely whisper, I understand. Owen Parker nodded in satisfaction. Take her back to her room. She doesn't come out without my permission. The bodyguards dragged her to her room. Lauren, weak and trembling, asked, what about the driver, what happened to him? Owen Parker paused, speaking in a tone as if discussing something trivial. They settled. Making it public would only harm the company and Rachel's reputation. Lauren froze. Her blood ran cold. The man who had tried to assault her was let off so easily. In his eyes, her safety wasn't even as important as the company or Rachel Foster's image. She was thrown onto the cold floor of her room. Before long, Rachel Foster returned with one of the housemaids. Lauren, I've asked the maid to apply some medicine to your wounds, Rachel said, signaling the maid forward. A maid opened a bottle and an acrid, chili-like scent immediately filled the air. Lauren Mitchell realized what was coming and screamed, struggling violently, but the maid pinned her down. Lauren, this is for your own good. It will help your wounds heal faster, Rachel said, a malicious smile playing on her lips. The maid smeared the chili-laced ointment onto Lauren's injuries. Instant, searing pain shot through her body. She rolled on the floor, shrieking as agony tore through her, the sound echoing throughout the room. Don't let her move, Rachel ordered coldly. Owen Parker appeared at the doorway, frowning slightly. Ignore her. She's ungrateful, he said, unaware of Lauren's battered state hidden just behind the door. Rachel obediently nodded, casting a mocking glance at Lauren sprawled on the floor before closing the door. Lauren lay there trembling violently and soon lost consciousness from the pain. That night, a high fever overtook her, her body burning, her mind foggy. She struggled to her feet, intending to go to the living room for medicine, but collapsed immediately. Inch by inch, she dragged herself to the door. Help me. No one responded. Panic set in as she realized the door had been locked. Exhausted, she curled up against it, powerless, and drifted into a fitful sleep on the cold floor. The next morning, a servant unlocked her door. As the door opened, Lauren fell forward, hitting the back of her head on the floor with a dull thud. The servant flinched, then frowned, kicking her impatiently. What terrible luck, blocking the way so early. The following days passed with Lauren lying in bed as her injuries slowly healed. One day, Owen Parker entered her room. His tone was casual, almost detached. Are your things for studying abroad ready? The inheritance process is nearly complete. Once it's finalized, you can leave. Lauren Mitchell's heart lifted. Yes, everything is ready. My passport and visa are all sorted. You're going abroad. Rachel Foster stepped out from behind Owen, feigning surprise. Lauren, why didn't you tell me you were leaving? She turned to Owen, pouting, tugging his arm. Oh, and didn't you buy me a yacht at the auction a few days ago? Lauren hasn't left yet, so why don't we take a few days on the yacht together? Owen Parker considered it and nodded. Fine, think of it as a little relaxation. The next day, the three of them boarded the yacht. As the vessel slowly sailed away, Lauren stood on deck, gazing at the endless blue sea and the clouds above. Thoughts of her impending departure brought a small measure of relief to her long-suppressed emotions. Finally, you know when to leave, Rachel Foster's voice cut from behind, dripping with scorn. Once you're abroad, don't come back. This isn't a place for you. Lauren turned to face her calmly. Don't worry. I never want anything to do with you again. Rachel snorted, her eyes full of contempt. Better make sure you keep that promise. With that she turned and left the deck. Later that evening, the three were still chatting on deck when the sky suddenly darkened. Fierce winds howled, and heavy rain pelted down without warning. Watch out. Owen reacted instantly, shielding Rachel and steadying her. Lauren, however, was thrown off balance by the wind and slammed into the railing. Pain blurred her vision, and she collapsed onto the wet deck. The deck grew increasingly slippery as water pooled beneath her. Owen struggled toward the cabin with Rachel in his arms. Lauren tried to get up and follow, but a massive wave crashed over her, sweeping her into the sea. Ah! The icy water engulfed her instantly. She thrashed, trying to stay afloat, but the currents dragged her under. Owen and Rachel, still near the edge of the cabin, were also swept by the wave. A crew member quickly threw a life buoy. Rachel. Owen grabbed the life buoy and swam straight for Rachel, completely ignoring the struggling Lauren. Lauren cried out desperately in the water. Help, somebody help me. But the crew and Owen's attention remained fixed on Rachel. No one noticed Lauren. Soon, Rachel was pulled safely aboard by Owen and the crew. Nona hailed in relief and prepared to follow, but his peripheral vision caught Lauren, now weakening and sinking. A surge of panic gripped him. Without hesitation he dove back into the sea and swam toward her. Lauren, unconscious, was descending rapidly into the depths. Owen grabbed her waist, but just then a huge wave slammed them into underwater rocks. Pain shot through his back as he gasped, but he refused to stop. Clinging to Lauren, he swam with all his strength toward the yacht. Seeing this, the crew quickly threw down ropes, pulling them both aboard. As soon as they were back on the yacht, Owen Parker went completely black and lost consciousness. In the hospital emergency room, the red lights of the operating theater blazed harshly. Lauren Mitchell, soaked through from the storm, stood in the hallway, her heart aching as she watched Owen being rushed for treatment. Suddenly Rachel Foster charged at her, slapping her across the face with such force that Lauren staggered into the wall. It's all your fault, you curse. Owen got hurt because of you. Rachel attacked like a madwoman, punching and keying, yanking Lauren's hair and smashing her head against the wall. Why don't you just die already? If it weren't for you, Owen wouldn't even be in this mess. Lauren's head spun from the blows, blood already seeping from her forehead, but she didn't fight back. Rachel continued her torrent of curses, her voice dripping with venom. I hate you. If it weren't for you, my parents wouldn't have died in that accident while looking for you. I could have been with Owen openly, and he wouldn't have had to act like a dutiful younger brother. You ruined everything, you're a disaster. Lauren pressed herself against the wall, numb to the pain, letting Rachel's fists and curses rain down. At that moment, the lights in the operating room went out. The doctors will go and stretch her out, and Rachel immediately stopped, grabbing the doctor's hand, frantic. Doctor, how is he? Is he okay? Owen Parker is out of danger. He suffered a head injury and needs to be transferred to a regular ward for recovery, the doctor assured her. Rachel exhaled in relief and hurriedly followed the stretcher to the ward. Lauren tried to follow, but Rachel shoved her aside violently. Get out, you don't belong here, you don't deserve to be by his side, go abroad, and don't ever come back. With that, Rachel stormed into the ward and slammed the door. Lauren sank to the floor, blood trickling down her face from her forehead. A passing nurse gasped at her state. Miss, you're hurt all over. Come with me for treatment. The nurse led Lauren to a treatment room. As her wounds were cleaned, the pain made her shiver, but her heart ached far more than her body. Meanwhile, Owen Parker lay unconscious in his hospital bed, fragments of memories flashing through his mind, their wedding, Lauren kneeling in a wedding gown before a tombstone, her screams of agony as she was tormented. Lauren, he murmured, and then his eyes snapped open. Oh, Anne, you're awake. Rachel rushed forward, tears in her eyes. How do you feel? Does your head hurt? Owen looked around, noticing Lauren was absent. Panic flashed across his face. Rachel, where's Lauren? Is she all right? Rachel's smile faltered, and she replied reluctantly, "She's fine, just outside. I can't make her leave." Owen breathed a sigh of relief and was about to call Lauren in, when the door opened. Lauren stood there, forehead bandaged, her face pale. "Oh, and thank you for saving me," she said quietly, her voice calm, tinged only with faint gratitude. Owen's chest tightened as he looked at her injuries. "It's my duty. I'm just glad you're okay." He paused and added, "We agreed I'd see you off abroad, but now I can't do it personally. My assistant will take you to the airport." Lauren nodded. "All right, thank you. I'll go now, goodbye." She turned to leave but was blocked by Rachel Foster at the door. Without a word, Rachel raised her hand and slapped her viciously. "Lauren Mitchell. You just won't go away, will you? Now that Owen is awake, get lost. Don't ever show your face again. You make me sick." Lauren pressed her hand to her burning cheek, her expression calm. "Don't worry. I won't be back." Rachel froze, unsure why Lauren sounded so certain. Only Lauren knew in her previous life, Owen Parker had killed her. This life, he had saved her. Their debts and grievances were settled. From now on, there would be no more intersections between their lives. Lauren left the hospital, returned to the Parker estate to pack her things, and boarded Owen Parker's assistant's car, heading straight to the airport. As the plane lifted off, she watched the city shrink beneath her and finally exhaled. She had escaped the place that had caused her so much pain. Back at the hospital, Owen Parker's head throbbed violently, and he curled up on the bed in agony. Rachel rushed to call the doctor, who arrived just in time as Owen's consciousness began to fade. Lauren Mitchell." He whispered the name with the last of his strength, then slipped into unconsciousness completely. Rachel's face turned pale as she gripped her fists, panic flooding her. Meanwhile, high above in the sky, Lauren Mitchell was already soaring toward a new life, never to return. Owen Parker remained hospitalized for a month before finally recovering and being discharged. "Owen, you had me worried to death." Rachel clung to him, her voice sugary, her face full of concern. Back at the mansion, Rachel fussed over him tirelessly, reminding him to take his medicine, preparing nutritious meals, and acting devoted and attentive. On the surface, it appeared as though life had returned to normal. But only Owen Parker knew that things had changed. Since Lauren Mitchell's departure, an emptiness gnawed at him, making it impossible to focus on work. During meetings, while ostensibly listening to his subordinates report on projects, Owen Parker's mind would suddenly be invaded by flashes of memories from the hospital. Lauren Mitchell, kneeling before a tombstone in a blood-stained wedding gown, her eyes hollow and filled with despair. Every time he thought of it, a searing headache would strike, leaving him restless and irritable. The unease grew stronger and stronger, until he could no longer help but pull out his phone. He scrolled through his contacts and dialed Lauren Mitchell's number. But after several attempts, all he got was a mechanical female voice. "The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. Please try again later." Frowning, he sent a message instead, "Is everything going smoothly after going abroad?" But the message vanished into the void. Even by the next day, there was no reply. Nolan stared at the lonely message on the chat screen, a strange wave of disappointment and regret swelling in his chest. Suddenly, he realized that when Lauren had left, he hadn't even asked which country she was going to, which university she'd attend, or what field she planned to study. She had entered his life like a gust of wind, silent and fleeting, and just as silently, she had vanished, leaving behind no trace for him to follow. The atmosphere in the mansion changed with Owen's transformation. Consumed by work, Owen often stayed late at the office, sometimes sleeping there overnight. Rachel Foster had thought that with Lauren gone, she could finally occupy Owen's heart completely. Yet reality proved the opposite. Whenever Owen was at home, he appeared distracted and distant. He often stared blankly for long moments when Rachel spoke to him. Lost in thought during meals, he would suddenly pause, eyes glazing over as if remembering something, his expression turning complicated, and at night, when Rachel tried to get close, he would always find an excuse to retreat, claiming fatigue. Owen's late nights and distracted demeanor triggered Rachel's temper at home. This food is awful. How can you mess up something so simple? She would take a single bite and then violently sweep the dishes to the floor. Then, seemingly unsatisfied, she'd shatter vases and ornaments across the living room. The servants stood by silently, grumbling under their breath but too afraid to speak. May's single misstep in their work would earn them a torrent of Rachel's abuse. Do you think that just because Owen's not home, you can treat me like I'm invisible? The servants trembled in fear. After all, Rachel Foster was the one Owen Parker always protected. Rachel, surveying the chaos she created, gritted her teeth. She sensed Owen's heart drifting somewhere beyond her grasp in that direction, she feared, might be tied to the one who had already left, Lauren Mitchell. No, I can't let this continue. That night, Rachel sat on the sofa, clenching her fists. Lauren Mitchell, the source of all this chaos, was gone. Now was her chance. If she confessed to Owen Parker, solidifying their relationship, he would no longer be haunted by those inexplicable emotions. He would stop thinking of Lauren Mitchell. Lauren Mitchell, I will never let you steal Owen from me. She gazed toward the direction of Lauren's from her bedroom, her nails digging deep into her palms. After Lauren's departure, Owen Parker came home less and less. Even when he returned, he would silently retreat to his bedroom and leave before dawn the next day, barely speaking a word to Rachel Foster. Worse, for the past week, nightmares had come to him without fail in the dead of night. In his dreams, he always stood in a cold, desolate graveyard, clutching a bloodied knife. Before him knelt a woman whose face he could not clearly see. Her voice was muffled, trembling with sobs as she begged, "Owen Parker, why are you killing me? I've already loved you, please don't kill me." He would feel compelled, as if controlled by some invisible force, to raise the knife and strike again and again. Her screams echoed through the graveyard, piercing and desperate, wrenching at his heart. Every time he neared seeing her face clearly, he would jerk her weight, drenched in cold sweat, chest heaving violently, unable to sleep again. The mistress kept pressing my husband to divorce me, saying their 3-year-old son needed to be registered in the family household. I refused. My husband smashed a bottle across my face, then straddled me, raining down fists and kicks while spitting curses. He called me a barren old sow who couldn't give him a son. My mother-in-law sneered at my daughters, calling them worthless money losers. My father-in-law calculated how much more money he could squeeze out of my family. From the collarbone down, my body was nothing but bruises and scars left from 2 years of beatings. This time, I didn't survive. I died in front of my children. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the night my husband first asked for a divorce. This time, I swore I would keep my family whole. My elder daughter was deftly peeling garlic. My younger daughter struggled to carry bowls to the table. I held the spatula in my hand, heat rising from the wok. The scene was so familiar. I had actually been reborn. The front door creaked open, my husband was back. After a few casual exchanges, my mother-in-law hurried into the kitchen, urging me on. "Jack's home already, and the food's still half raw. City girls are so delicate, cooking like it's embroidery, slow and finicky. Not like us country women, once the fire's on, 3-5 moves and a table's ready." My daughters, sensing her mood, picked up their pace in silence. When she finally left, I scooped a handful of peanuts from a sack, tossed them into the blender, ground them fine, and poured the powder into the pork bone soup. Apart from that pot of meaty broth, the rest of the dishes were plain and meatless. My husband's face darkened. 600 yuan a month for groceries, and this is what we eat, you hiding money somewhere? I shook my head. No, it's all gone. The pork bones cost 11, vegetables 5, tofu 2, salt 1. There's only 1 yuan left for tomorrow. They fell silent. I nudged my daughters into their room, then came back out with a plate of fried peanuts and set it before my father-in-law. He never drank without them. "Mom, bone broth's good for calcium. Hannah and Ella haven't had any in a long time. Could we save a little more for them?" I asked gently. Her eyes bulged. "What do those 2 money losers need nourishment for? They'll just get married off sooner or later, why waste the food?" As if I might snatch it away, she ladled their bowls brimming full, bones and all, making sure nothing was left for the girls. My father-in-law slurped noisily at his soup, lips smacking. About borrowing money from your family to buy a car, have you thought about it? Jack takes the bus every day, he's skin and bones now, don't you care? I hadn't answered before, I certainly wouldn't now. Seeing me cower, my father-in-law slammed his bowl down. Talk to your parents, it's not like we won't pay it back. My mother-in-law chimed in with her sharp tongue. Your family's rich as landlords. 10 or 20,000 is nothing to them, like plucking a feather, but you act like it's carving your heart out. Guess they never saw us as real family. My husband seemed distracted, not really listening. I pressed my lips together and quietly tidied the kitchen. As always, once the three of them finished, it was finally my daughter's and my turn to eat. Jack and I had been high school classmates. For him, I lowered my college entrance exam score, just to follow him to a third-rate university. After graduation, against my parents' pleas, I married him and moved to his small county town. Later, his parents came from the village to live with us. They were illiterate, and conflicts only grew. After I bore 2 daughters and no more children, his attitude changed. His fists became routine. He always avoided my face, so to the neighbors, we still looked like a happy family. Outside the kitchen, my father-in-law kept popping peanuts into his mouth, crunching loudly. Grace, come out, my husband called. I looked at him quietly. We're getting D. The last syllable slurred as his face twisted, sweat breaking out. He collapsed into the chair, panting heavily, eyes going unfocused. Thud. My mother-in-law dropped to the floor, stiff as a board. My father-in-law, halfway through his bottle of liquor, was dead drunk, head slumped on the table. Only when Jack fully lost consciousness did I carry the food I'd prepared into the bedroom. My girls devoured it hungrily. Afterward, I dialed emergency services. Before the ambulance arrived, I poured the remaining soup down the drain, not leaving a trace. Jack and his parents were all taken to the hospital. After thorough examinations, the doctor finally gave a conclusion: peanut allergy. Your husband and mother-in-law both have severe peanut allergies. Didn't they know? Tears welled in my eyes. They always knew. But it hadn't flared up in years. My father-in-law eats peanuts with his liquor every day, maybe they just ate by mistake. The doctor sighed. We'll do our best. Jack was young, he pulled through. But my mother-in-law didn't. She had drunk the most of the soup. The anaphylactic shock was too severe. She couldn't be saved. When the police asked what I'd been doing, why I hadn't noticed sooner, I held my daughters close and whispered, in our family, the elders eat first. Only after them can the children eat. But Hannah and Ella are still little, they get hungry fast. I was bringing them food, so I didn't notice what was happening outside. The officers exchanged sympathetic looks. My father-in-law, merely drunk, woke after a nap. When he heard his wife was gone, he thought I was joking. When told Jack had just come out of ICU, he rushed off. Father and son clung together by the bedside, wailing in grief. The moment I stepped through the door, my husband's face twisted. We only got sick after eating the food you made. Did you poison us? The police officers who had come with him quickly stepped in. It's all been investigated. Your wife's cooking was fine. This was an accident. Seeing the officers intervene, he had no choice but to put on a facade of compliance. Once we were home, that pretense vanished. He called me a jinx who brought misfortune to him and his family, forbidding me from entering the bedroom. My father-in-law, perhaps feeling a twinge of guilt for my mother-in-law's death after eating the peanuts she loved, muttered, now that your mother's gone, it's just the 2 of us left in the Thomas family. How are we supposed to live like this? Dad, we're not just the 2 of us. He froze, confused. I have a son outside, I said, your eldest grandson. He's 3. My husband looked at me and said, let's get a divorce. Fine. He hadn't expected me to agree so quickly. Reflexively, he added, the child stays with you, the house stays with me. I'll repay your down payment when I can. The house had been bought with my dowry, though he had been paying the mortgage each month. He had counted every detail of our marital assets. I don't care about that. I'm just worried my sister won't be able to take care of you and Dad properly. Let her stay with the child for a while, I'll show her how. Within 24 hours, the mistress eagerly moved her things in, bringing the little boy with her. Our 3-bedroom apartment immediately felt cramped. Dad, Jack, she called sweetly, right in front of me. Seeing that my daughter's beds had taken over their own room, she shipped all her belongings into the master bedroom, acting like the true lady of the house. She used the teacups I had chosen, my shampoo, my vanity mirror. Late at night, thirsty, I stepped out to get a drink. Passing the master bedroom, I overheard the mistress and my husband laughing together. This house is too small. Once they move out, Ben can use that room, but what if we have another baby? Another baby, you little Jack. I've already made the deal with her. The house stays with me, I repay her down payment whenever, it's hard to say when. Then we'll sell this and get a bigger house. The whole family will live comfortably. She pressed him for a promise. So the bigger house will be Ben's too, right? Those 2 little girls can't take it. You're so petty. Amidst the increasingly suggestive giggles, I quietly walked away. If he wanted me out of the house, he'd have to see if he had the skill to make it happen. Mom, he broke my doll, my younger daughter cried, face red. The mistress's son grinned as he yanked the legs off another Barbie. Pieces of doll clothes and limbs littered the floor. I snatched the doll from him and handed it back to my daughter. My father-in-law grumbled, it's just a plastic doll. Let the eldest grandson play a bit, why are you so stingy? Before I could speak, the mistress feigned generosity. Ben was wrong, Hannah. Auntie will buy you a better one. Dad, don't be mad. I saw you put a lot in the kitchen. Let me do it, I cook well, Jack always says so, I offered, taking her into the kitchen. During Mid-Autumn Festival, I always make moon cakes myself. They like 5-nut filling. I've got almonds, walnuts, all ready. She snatched my apron. The kitchen's crowded. You go relax, I've got this. I sat in the living room with my daughters, like a guest. Her son Ben kept chanting, mooncake, mooncake. Soon, the fragrant pastries were on the table, 6 in total. My daughters stared, mouths watering. My husband, father-in-law, and Ben sat at the table. The mistress distributed the mooncakes. Dad, 2 for you. Jack, 2 for you. I and Ben will each try one. Feigning surprise at seeing us, she said, oh, I forgot Hannah and Ella are here. What if there aren't enough? My husband didn't even raise an eyelid. They don't like sweets. Indeed, our monthly grocery budget was only 600 yuan. I could barely afford small cakes or treats for my daughters. Most went to my parents-in-law and husband. My daughter, so considerate, would take just a taste, knowing the treats were precious. I smiled faintly. Right, we don't like sweets. You guys eat them. Don't waste the good ingredients. When he collapsed, it was far worse than last time. I efficiently moved my daughters to safety, called for emergency help and the police. The mistress stood frozen, unsure what to do. My husband was rushed back to ICU. The police detected peanut components in the mooncakes. During the interrogation, my father-in-law's eyes sharpened on the mistress. This time, I wasn't drinking, I was fully aware. It was the mooncake she made that triggered Jack's sudden illness. The mistress immediately protested, I didn't. Jack is allergic to peanuts, I wouldn't put any in. All the ingredients came from Grace Miller. If there's a problem, it's her responsibility. All eyes turned to me. I lifted my bruised face. Last time Mom died from peanuts, Dad said we wouldn't eat them anymore. I never bought any again. You can check the fridge, check the house if you don't believe me. The mooncakes were made entirely by Natalie White. Why peanuts appeared, I don't know. The police searched the house. Apart from traces in the sample mooncakes, nothing else was found. The mistress was left speechless. This time, my husband wasn't so lucky. He died in the ICU. The mistress refused to plead guilty and was sentenced to 5 years for negligent homicide. On the living room TV stand, I placed the memorial photos of my mother-in-law and my husband side by side. I cleared away the clutter, leaving a wide, empty space beside them. My daughters wanted moon cakes. I made a fresh batch 5-nut filling, lotus seed paste with salted egg yolk, and red bean paste arranged neatly on a large platter. Watching them eat with such delight, I reminded them again. Remember, no peanuts. Not a single peanut. We know, Mom, you've said it 100 times. Both daughters had inherited my husband's and mother-in-law's peanut allergies. If not for my mother-in-law's cruelty and the mistress's recklessness, they would have avoided this fate altogether. The almonds the mistress had used had already been replaced with leftover peanuts from last time. It was just a small handful, but the mistress had unknowingly kneaded it all in. The police would never find a trace. Ben appeared out of nowhere, grabbed a mooncake, and ran off. I watched him hunker down in my father-in-law's lap, devouring it with gusto. I remembered that yesterday he had eaten an entire 5-nut mooncake without a single reaction. My father-in-law's drinking worsened. All day he was dazed. At night, whenever he came to, he clutched Ben tightly. Having lost his wife and son, his only emotional anchor was his grandson. His attitude toward me softened slightly. Child, from now on, I'm counting on you to keep things running. He glanced at the memorial photos of my mother-in-law and my husband, sighing. What a curse we've lived through. I pushed the newly bought bottle of liquor toward him. Dad, at least we still have Ben. Don't worry too much. I'll go earn money, I won't let you live in hardship. He took the bottle, collapsed onto the sofa, turned on the TV, and drank again. This time his snack was edamame. Beside him, Ben happily munched on the chips, cake, and drinks I had bought, occasionally laughing at the TV, completely oblivious that his mother had long disappeared. When everyone finally went to bed, my elder daughter asked, Mom, Grandpa said all the money in the house is for Ben. The house is for Ben, so where will we live? I stroked her head. Wherever Mom lives, you'll live there too. My younger daughter pouted. I want snacks too. Why does Ben get them and I don't? I pulled out 2 cheese sticks and whispered, these are special. Even Ben doesn't have them. Eat secretly and don't tell anyone. The girls squealed with delight and hid by the bed to eat. I picked up my college textbooks again. All my free time outside chores went to studying for certifications. With my grades, I could have attended a good university, studied a desirable major, and built a career of my own, but I had let love cloud my judgment, wasting 6 years of my life. Everything I sacrificed had fed the dog of my past mistakes. A few days later, my father-in-law finally spoke up. Let's register Ben at home, he's family anyway. Anticipating my objection, he added, your son, he must have been hoping for this before he left. Fine. 5 years later, I became a licensed lawyer. In this small county, I had a respectable job and a good income. Hannah and Ella were 9 years old. 2 years ago, I had sent them to my parents' city to attend the best international school. Ben had taken my surname, Ben Harris. The car stopped at the community building. The biggest surprise is seeing you here, I said to the driver. Luke Adams. He had been my husband's high school classmate. I hadn't expected to bump into him because of a business collaboration. Thanks for the ride back, I said. As I stepped out, he hurried to catch up. I picked my college based on you during the entrance exam. You didn't go, but I didn't care. If I can wait 11 years, I can wait another 11 or 20. Grace Miller, I've been waiting for you. I didn't answer. Mia Carter, is dinner ready? Yes, your father-in-law is still asleep, so I've left some for him. Ben, as usual, he's full from snacks and won't eat much. Mia Carter was the nanny I had hired, responsible for all household chores. I waved it off. Give Ben whatever he wants. If he's hungry, he'll eat. Mia nodded silently and returned to the kitchen. On the sofa, Ben's eyes lit up at seeing me. Pointing at the TV, he yelled, buy it, I want it. The little boy from 5 years ago, once so tender, had grown plump, now taking up 2 seats and covered in crumbs from snacks. I smiled and promised him a Transformers toy. My father-in-law appeared from the bedroom, bleary-eyed. Maybe it's time Ben started learning to read? He hiccuped. Ben's still little. No rush, he can play at home for a couple more years. Besides, you never went to school, didn't you turn out fine? Ben clapped excitedly. Play, play. My father-in-law frowned. Ben's 8 already, but still not fluent in speech. Should we take him to the hospital? He's still young. He'll talk properly when he grows up. And hospitals are full of germs, they make you sick for no reason, and doctors always try to take our money. My nonsense shut him up. Mention money, and that's serious business. By now, the mistress was due to appear. She blocked me at the gate. She looked waxy, dressed in filthy, worn clothes. I, on the other hand, was impeccably made up, no longer the meek Grace Miller of the past. I've thought about it day and night all these years. It was you who put peanuts in the mooncakes back then, not me, the mistress spat, her eyes wild with jealousy at my polished appearance. To me, she was nothing but a ridiculous little clown. I said calmly, if you have evidence, submit it to the court. If not, I'll sue you for defamation. Tell me, between someone with a criminal record and a lawyer, who do you think the judge will believe? The mistress swallowed whatever she had wanted to say, glaring at me with hatred. Mom. I turned to Ben and softened my voice. What is it, Ben? The mistress shoved past me into the house, calling out, Ben, and froze mid-step. She couldn't believe her eyes. The chubby boy, arms as thick as her thighs, was her son. Mom, who's that? Ben asked, uncomfortable. I curved my lips in a small smile. This is Aunt Mia. The mistress almost fainted. Her own son didn't recognize her. I'm your mother, Ben, I'm your mother, she sobbed, clutching him tightly. The stench emanating from her made Ben struggle violently. Weighing over 160 pounds, she couldn't hold him down and was immediately pushed aside. Seeing Ben instinctively stand next to me stabbed her heart. It's you brainwashed Ben so he wouldn't recognize me, didn't you? You're vicious. I thought you'd step aside willingly, but you had this plan all along, get rid of Jack first, destroy me next, and even harm the innocent child, she screamed hoarsely. Get out. This house and this child are mine, I said calmly. The house is in my name, Ben is on my household register, there's nothing you can claim. Her eyes reddened with rage. She noticed a fruit knife on the dining table, snatched it up, and pointed it at me. Ben screamed loudly in terror. My father-in-law emerged from the bedroom, cursing. You worthless piece of trash. You ruined my son and dare to step foot in this house today. He grabbed a broom, ready to strike. I interjected just in time, she's here to claim Ben and the house. 2 treasures, my grandson and the property. If even one were taken, half of his life would be gone. The mistress ran, cornered by my father-in-law, darting to hide. Seeing me calmly watching the scene enraged her. She charged at me, knife aimed at my throat, the tip piercing my skin. My phone vibrated in my jacket pocket, unnoticed by anyone. The real culprit is her. You've been deceived, I muttered. Why don't you help me get her bank password too? Years of alcohol abuse had dulled my father-in-law's judgment. He muttered, culprit, culprit. A gust of wind blew in. Photos of my late mother-in-law and husband toppled from the counter with a loud thud. In a sudden clarity, my father-in-law swung the broom toward me and the mistress. She had no choice but to pull back the knife. I ducked just in time. A figure burst through the door, tackling the mistress to the ground. I recognized him, Luke Adams. Even with a long gash on his arm from the knife, he smiled at me as if nothing had happened. I tried calling you, but you didn't answer. I was worried, glad I got here in time. The mistress thrashed and cursed at me, but she was pinned down completely. Thanks to my professional knowledge, plus her criminal record, breaking and entering, and assault charges, she was facing at least 8 years in prison. The ordeal left Ben traumatized. Years of indulgence and a carefully crafted harmonious family environment had made the mistress's attack all the more shocking for him. The police not only arrested her, they also took Ben to the hospital. His nervous system was unstable, with complications including high blood sugar, hypolipidemia, and alcohol poisoning. I was taken aback. I recalled seeing my father-in-law feed Ben alcohol with chopsticks at home. Late at night I would see Ben holding and sipping the drinks, thinking they were just juice. At such a young age, the severity of his condition astonished even the doctors. This time, I faced questioning not just from the police, but from Child Protective Services. Ben Harris is severely overweight but malnourished. Were you unaware of his diet? Investigations show you are not his biological mother, and his mother had a past with your ex-husband. Have you ever abused him? I spoke clearly and methodically. Because of work, I hired a nanny to care for Ben and my father-in-law. Every meal is nutritionally balanced. You can confirm this with Mia Carter. Furthermore, Ben was a picky eater when I adopted him. Over the years, I've tried to correct it, though he sneaks food sometimes. As for his mother and my ex-husband, that is adult business. He was an orphan, and I already have daughters, so I adopted him. Being a stepmother is never easy, even small missteps invite scrutiny, right? Faced with my reasoning, they had no rebuttal. They did, in fact, interview Mia Carter, whose statements matched mine exactly. Ben's condition required long-term hospitalization. I immediately called. 100,000 has been transferred. Use it for your son's treatment. Thank you, Miss Grace. You earned it, Mia Carter. My father-in-law spent his days sitting before the photos of my late parents-in-law, praying for Ben's recovery. He complained about the house's feng shui, blamed me for working and not caring for Ben properly, and suspected I was a jinx. He never reflected on how Ben's alcohol poisoning occurred or how his own drinking prevented him from noticing the child's condition. I handed him a report. Don't be upset, Dad. Ben isn't even your biological grandson. My father-in-law's face turned pale with shock. What the hell are you saying? Has a donkey kicked your brain? Peanut allergies are hereditary. Your wife passed it to your son passed it to his daughters. So why was Ben fine eating the mooncakes? His expression gradually darkened. I flipped a report to the last page. I compared Ben's hair with your son's. They aren't father and son. This DNA test proves it. Natalie White brought Ben here to exploit your obsession with having a grandson and seize the house. The sudden revelation hit him so hard he collapsed to the floor. Mumbling incomprehensibly, that wretched woman, his eyes glared with venom, wishing he could tear the mistress apart. I walked over to my late husband's photo and gently traced the frame. Jack was so pitiful. Not only did the woman he loved cause his death, but the son he longed for wasn't even his. My father-in-law's chest heaved with anger. I continued, but I have to thank Natalie White. If she hadn't shown up, I would still be the naive, foolish Grace Miller. What do you mean? I turned slowly to face him. Dad, do you know how Mom died? His eyes widened, shrinking as if touched by a red-hot poker. And Dad, you know where the peanuts in Natalie White's mooncakes came from? His face drained to an ashen gray. I crouched, rolling up my sleeve to reveal the scarred marks on my wrist that never healed. Because I couldn't bear a son. Because I couldn't give you more money. Because I was weak. Jack Thomas abused me countless times over 2 years. You and Mom heard everything, yet not a word was spoken. No matter how hard I worked, I couldn't turn a shred of pity from your family. I've harmed myself countless times. If it weren't for Hannah Moore and Ella Davis, I would have died many times over. It's over. If we go down, we all go down together. My father-in-law seemed stunned by the hatred blazing in my eyes. The next moment, I couldn't dodge in time. He grabbed my neck and slammed me down. Years of hard labor made his arms corded with veins, eyes bloodshot. You wretched woman, I'll kill you. Destroyed me, destroyed my son, you deserve it. The suffocating pressure surged over me, consciousness wavering. His face merged with my late husband's. Painful memories flashed. Perhaps dying like this was a kind of release. He had committed murder, and he would not escape justice. My vengeance was complete. Mom, Hannah Moore, Ella Davis? I suddenly opened my eyes. Blinded by darkness, I grabbed the nearest object and swung it at his head with all my strength. Crack! Blood gushed from his head, he rolled his eyes in agony. Air rushed back into my lungs. The black haze lifted. In my hands was my husband's photo frame, its glass shattered and smeared with blood. Save! He barely whispered a single word. Half his body froze, his lips twisted as he collapsed to the floor, staring and blinking lie at me. I sat quietly meeting his gaze. 10 hours later, he finally exhaled his last breath. The string of family deaths had sent my emotions into turmoil. Grief-induced stroke, head injury from a fall, it culminated in accidental death. Neighbors sympathized with my plight. With family dead or incapacitated, I was a young widow raising 2 daughters. Taking in the mistress's son as my own became the talk of the town. TV interviews, career promotions, even recommendations to serve as a women's representative followed. My parents called constantly, urging me to return. They missed their grandchildren. I lit a fire, taking the 3 photos from the TV cabinet one by one and tossing them in. Flames consumed the symbols of their sins and my darkness along with it. I sold the old house and purchased a 100-square-meter apartment in my parents' city, moving my daughters and them in. I applied for a work transfer there as well. My parents didn't know the horrors I had endured all these years. They only felt guilty for having been harsh with me, and now treated me with care. Unexpectedly, Luke Adams followed. Shamelessly, he would bring things over and linger for meals. Now he wore an apron, chatting with my father, giving cooking tips. My daughters adored him. I never turned him away, remembering the time he saved my life. Mom, dinner's ready. Your favorite spicy chicken wings. Uncle Luke made them. 6 of us gathered around the table, lively and warm. Hannah Moore and Ella Davis chattered about school. My parents listened attentively, responding with smiles. Luke kept passing food to me. A woman in prison was found dead in her cell early this morning. Inmate Natalie White was discovered hanged. According to reports, 34-year-old Natalie White was sentenced to 8 years in prison for trespassing and intentional injury. She has less than 7 years remaining on her sentence. Preliminary investigations rule out homicide, but the exact motive for her suicide is still under review. I smiled faintly. These spicy chicken wings are really good today. Natalie White was dead. Probably because she couldn't accept Ben's death. Yes, a week ago, the hospital had delivered the news, Ben hadn't survived. I sent the death certificate to the women's prison. After washing the dishes, I returned to my room. I pulled out a thin stack of papers from the safe and tore them to pieces. Mom, Uncle Luke is leaving, come see him off. I'm coming. I tossed the confetti into the trash and stepped out of the bedroom. Among the shredded pieces, one long strip bore a dark line of text, supporting Jack Thomas as Ben Harris's biological father. After all, my father-in-law couldn't read.